So this album, right? We've been hearing about it for years. For everyone that doesn't know, it's a hidden album, a secret album, was uploaded to YouTube. No one found it. Al, how does it feel to actually be out in the world now?
It's good. That was the intention originally. So, mission accomplished.
And that makes sense, yeah. In terms of artists that you've worked with too, I've heard you talk about this before, but what makes working with Earl different from other artists? I mean, I could spend the rest of the spaces naming off everyone you've worked with, all the way to the GTA 5 soundtrack. But what's different about Earl, his fan base, this project?
He's definitely a standalone, a unique artist. One of the greats, in my opinion, especially for his generation and just how long he's been in it and what he's been doing. So, it's always a good time when I'm able to do music with him. So it's like, been a long 10 years we've been working, doing stuff on and off. So yeah, he's one of a kind for sure. The way he writes, the way he kind of approaches um, his whole shit. I take a lot of um, I follow his lead a lot, when it comes to if it's like the creative decisions or music, whatever, so he's definitely like a leader.
You say 10 years. How did you guys meet originally? Where did that relationship start?
It was like early on, as I knew their manager, Chris, and just two mutual friends in LA, and just hearing about them. We linked up early on, and yeah, that's how it started.
What a great relationship start. And how did this album come to be? 'Cause what you guys recorded initially like 4 years ago, I think is when your first tweet came out about it. And so it's been a little bit of a journey.
Yeah, we work a lot, so we always have a batch of music that we're sifting through and editing, or cutting down. Or, we're always working on something. It's pretty loose. In studio where I'm at, it's not a lot of like agendas or like it's not a lot of homework over there. It's almost like where people play hooky from that it's that type of vibe. So it's like basically so we create sometimes, and it's not always clear where this is for this album or that. We're just kind of making stuff. So I mean, at any given time, I feel like the way the shit me and him have, we could always pull together a batch, shape it up, and make it a plate.
Does that mean that we can expect a Voir 2 in the future potentially?
I wouldn't say that, nah. But we always work, so you can always expect more work.
Al, for the people in our community who maybe don't know you, you've worked with basically everybody. Like the list of people you've worked with is massive.
Tell them about it.
Is it
yeah,
true?
Tell them.
Is it true you started out working with Scott Kahn, rapping together?
This is absolutely true. It's all documented. It's all scripted, and it's well documented on various publications, like the basement of TV Raps. So yeah, we that's how I got my start early on. I'm old, in case anyone didn't know.
We're actually about the same age, so
well, you're old too. Congratulations.
I'm old too. I'm right there with you.
Al, do you know if we have Tebe in yet?
It was just something. It was a sound check. We were caught in the middle of sound check, so they're bringing him in right now. We got the show tonight. But we're here.
Are you excited about that? You guys have a little bit of a double header, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's always fun touching the stage or seeing how songs react to the crowds and shit. So Tebe's a real MC. So he nails everything. He goes off the script a lot. I think, but fans like who come to his shows know that. Like he's always doing songs that aren't released and shit like that. Some artists don't want to do stuff like that because sometimes you want to like go through your classics and get that reaction. I feel like he's more of that type. Like he likes experimenting on stage. Like, we've done records on stage that we did the same day. Like, let's just try this shit tonight. So he's more that type of artist. So I think the fans know that. Like, you never know what you'll get at his show. I think that makes it more entertaining, at least for people who keep coming back. You're not going to get the same show for sure.
Yeah, I've been seeing
Yeah, I
that
can
in
speak to
the
that.
in the Discord. There's been a few shows lately leading up to the drop, and seeing a lot of conversation around like, what do you think these guys are going to perform? Like, what do you think the set's going to be? I hope they play XYZ. They definitely don't know what's coming, and it feels like that's a real point of pride with what you guys are doing. They seem to really be into that.
Yeah, just like not going with the script, kind of doing it whatever way feels right. I think for him has always been his formula. So like that spills over to the stage shows and the set lists and shit like that. But this is the Doris 10-year anniversary tour, basically. So you can guarantee they'll run through those joints for sure. But I'm sure there'll be other things.
Naturally, of course. Are you guys excited to perform new stuff tonight?
Yeah. Yeah, of course, always. That's always fun to see, just to see how they hit. Mm-hmm.
And you've been on a little bit of a run yourself too, Alex. You have the Larry June project. Done with
I like to
Genesis came out
call
this
it,
year, I think, as well.
it's more like speed walking,
Okay.
like aggressive walk. A run is like
How do you find
everybody
time?
gets on a run. How say what?
How do you find the time? Where does this time come from?
I got the same hours you got. I don't have an extra batch of hours that I use like when everybody go like I got the same hours everyone else got. I have 2 kids. I just make it work. It's always been part of, I, everybody I know works. I don't really work much harder than most of my friends, in my opinion. I know a couple people that work harder than me. God bless them.
Okay, God bless them. On Voir, I know that a lot of fans were particularly excited to see Black Emperor get an official release. I think that's My Brother the Wind on the album. How long it works for?
Say it again. What about it?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans that I've seen were excited to see Black Emperor get an official release, which is My Brother the Winds. So how long has that one been in the works for? I think it's been teased previously.
Yeah, that's one of those show joints. Like I said, that's the one he was performing a lot. So there was a lot of like live rips that end up uploading to YouTube, and the fans make their own names for the songs, and then it becomes Black Emperor. I don't know. People they do whatever they want. So however they can get it, they get it. I'm not even mad. But I think that's how that song became popularized. Because in this era of technology, what happens if the show doesn't stay at the show?
Of
So,
course.
I guarantee you're going to get some clips, and some people might fall in love with that version of it. They may like it better than the song. Well, you run the risk when you do that, but it is what it is. I don't think any of us really give a shit.
Yeah, were there any songs or joints on this album that you were particularly excited to finally get an official release?
All of them, really. And not one in particular. They're all, it was a piece of work, so it was more like, let's get this all out the way it was intended to be. So, I always prefer that people play it from beginning to end. That's like a tall order nowadays. Like, yo, play my shit from beginning to end with the outros and all that. So I don't expect people to do it, but I guess for better results, listen from beginning to end.
Yeah, I know we talked about this coming out like as an album in its entirety versus kind of the traditional single week by week model. And in general, the rollout for this was like a big part of the overall strategy of releasing it. And Al, you were obviously super involved in defining what that looked like. Can you talk a little bit about what made this rollout fun or unique or different? What had you excited about it?
I was just glad to get the record out. So everything else was just extras. I'm more about the music and the product. So it was really just just a different road to get to the end. You know, it's sometimes you go right to the front door. Sometimes you got to go around the side and through the garage. I guess it was more of that, you know. That's all. But as long as you get in the house, I was just focused on that. Like, just want people to hear the shit the way it was. So